One.
Go.
Pfeiffer's arriving. Hi, welcome to the Pfeiffer's DD991 podcast. And I'm Rocky the Cryptid Hunter, Gilly, Lil Tate, Joe, and Thumper. And today we're going to talk about hunting some cryptids, or the menace that cryptids can be. And who would like to start?
I'll start with this one, and I'd like to give an intro into this. Obviously, little Tate here served from Navy for 24 years. First ship was the USS Fife. So most of us here have been in for years and have been on the ocean and seen a lot of strange things. So as we're talking about cryptids or unknown phenomenon to most people that are land lovers, you would say, that don't get to see a lot of the things we see on the ocean. Anybody else would like to do their introduction really quick?
Yeah, I will. I'm Gilly. We did 8 years of Navy, 2 boats. Thumper.
I'm Thumper, 14 total, private security contractor overseas. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, ex-warrant officer, 30 years, 2 months service, and 18 years of sea time. And remember the Fife really well because that was a great ship, great crew, great bunch of guys on board with us today. And I'm proud to be with you guys doing the podcast.
Glad to have you.
And I'm Rocky. I was in for 24 years. And now I'm retired. And that's about it. I could go on more about my career, but that will be for another time. All right, little Tate, you got it, bro.
We'll do an in-depth one at that point. All right, everybody. So, starting off, there's a lot of phenomenon that can happen out on the ocean. One of the biggest things that I remember happening was this was more of a haunted experience instead of the cryptid experience. But down in Main One, I think everybody remembers Main One doing sound security rounds. We have a deep sink down there that we wash our hands, equipment, whatever. But it's also used for a lavatory. So if you got to go, you got to go. So sometimes you got to take a piss in this thing. So I'm down there on sound security, doing watch, taking readings, and I have to piss. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to take a piss real quick. So I'm standing at the deep sink, just pissing in there. Next thing you know, I hear the loudest, hey, like right in my ear. So it freaks me out. I piss a little bit on myself because I'm startled. And I go run around the engine room. There's nobody there. There's absolutely nobody in the engine room but me. Ship's cold iron. If people know what cold iron is, nothing's running. There's a few pieces of equipment like fire pumps running, normal stuff, and that's it. It's quiet. You can hear a fucking pin drop. So that was a big one on the Fife. As far as being haunted. Being underway. One of the other big ones was the like AWTEC. Everybody remembers AWTEC range where they check the sounding of the ship. We was out there smoking on the smoke deck, and we seen what looked like a drone just doing up and down motions, and it looked really strange because of the type of lights that it had on. And for all of us, we've all been trained how to identify aircraft, identify ships on the horizon, different classes, especially Russian, Chinese, all of that. So that one was a really strange time on the ocean too. Those were the two big ones that I've ever seen on the ocean. One of the cooler ones is the bioluminescence from organisms that when you turn up in a wake, you'll see a glow actually come from the wake on the hull of the ship. And if you didn't know what you was looking at, you would probably think, holy shit, what is going on right now? Because it's a pretty bright ass glow, you know. So anybody else got that's for me. Those are the three big ones on the Fife. I know there's a little bit of history with it.
Do you remember the color of the lights from that thing?
Yeah, it was like a brightish blue, man. It's been documented on like History Channel, Science Channel when it rolls into the shore, like the waves when they break. you'll get that bright bluish color, and that's what it looks like underway, like in the middle of nowhere, and you're just watching this wake of just blue happen underneath the ship. So, I mean, that could have been misunderstood. They just recently found out. This isn't, old news per se, but
Well, we know that red, green, and white are mainly the ships and vessels and planes use, port, starboard, and then a white light, a running light or whatever. So that is kind of some kind of different kind of craft right there.
yeah, like I said, and as we were talking prior to this, I mean, with the amount of drone activity that we've seen going on, and we all know that we've had Reapers around for years, the Fire Scout, but this new series of drones is really just they're odd, like what we were seeing. I mean, it'd be no different than the SR-71 Blackbird flying around. You're like, what the fuck is this? That was Skunk Works back in the 60s. So aerial phenomenon for us, I've seen a little bit, but I know that there's other people out there that have seen tons and tons of it, and they can't explain it either.
Well, I mean, I have a ghost story from the fight. It happened in Ox One. I was sounding and security. I think I was a fireman at the time. I don't even think I was a DC-3 yet. And
Fireman dirty.
I think Big U was the EDO, the engineering. Either he was EO or EDO. I want to say he was EO. No, EDO, and we were in port. I don't remember exactly where we were in port. But I went down to Ox One to go get the temperature, right? Because you went down to Ox One, and you know how Ox One had like the sink right there, then it had like this workbench on the other side with the blue fucking carpeting vinyl shit that was on the ships at that time. And I go to, check the temperature, and the fucking sink turns on by itself. And there's no one in there. It scared the shit out of me. I fucking ran upstairs. I ran up the ladder well, threw open the door of the fucking engineering, the CCS, right? The CCS. And I shut the door. I dug it down. I said, I'm never fucking going down there again. Something fucking scared the fucking shit out of me. And everyone just looked at me like, what? Like,
Bro.
yeah. Maybe we should have called this Ghost Stories.
Well, I mean, we'll get to the cryptids too, but
Yeah.
those
Then, let's see. Another time, I was in 3 Gen. I was in 3 Generator, right? And while I was looking inside, you have to check the gauges and all that shit on the generators, right? I forget what pressures we checked. What was it?
lube oil.
Lube oil and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And something from behind me pushed me. I don't know what the fuck that was, but it pushed me.
Are you sure you still wasn't hung over from the night before or something like that?
No, dude, we were underway, dude. We were underway. I think we were underway. This was during 1998, the counter drug ops thing we did back then.
Okay.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
And then, there's someone that has a really good ghost story. If they could ever come on board, it's Macaulay. He talked about seeing something on the lifelines at one time while they were at the smoke break. I think it was the starboard smoke break, to be exact. I don't remember the whole story, but I'd rather him tell it if he can.
Wasn't it? I think, a lot of it too was I think people were seeing the old captain that had a heart attack in his stateroom.
Yeah,
Captain Tabile.
yeah.
That was before me and Rocky got there.
Yeah, he passed away like maybe a year or a couple months before we got there. I'm
A
not
very popular guy. I didn't meet him either, but I think he had a stroke underway or something like that.
Yeah, they were underway. That
Very much loved Captain.
see. I got another story. Let me see. Well, no, not really. None that I want to talk about right now. Save it for later. But it did that ship did have some creepy spaces in it, man. Like you'd walk into it and you would just feel like, well, there's something that doesn't want me here.
Yeah.
And it was weird because there were spaces like that on the Abraham Lincoln that were creepy too.
Oh, fuck, carrier's huge, man.
And all of that. But I don't know, man.
See, for me, the feeling of not wanting me there was typically from my LPO.
Oh, Bittner. It was Bittner. Hodges.
Oh my god, nightmares.
Come along.
Hodges. I remember that guy. Oh man, that was funny.
All of his safety glasses because he had his laser eye surgery because he had those fucking BCs that he wore all the time, and as soon as he got that eye surgery,
90% of the time, you could find him sleeping on top of the main engines.
Yeah,
in Make One.
Yeah, that was a great place to sleep and run your drying lines where you should laundry down there and shit.
Yeah, super warm and the vibration just puts you right to sleep.
So was it the Callahan or the Fife when we were on counter narcotics, and then the world famous Corpse Bob came into our lives, and we had the
that was
1998. Yeah, on the watches on the bridge wings, and had that was traumatizing, I'm sure, for some of the young sailors, but they had to keep an eye on this floating corpse in the water for we were probably there 3 days watching that guy. And I did get a look at him, and that memory won't really leave you as a body, fully dressed body is slowly face down and slowly melting in the water. They're being eaten by the other stuff that's going to make the bioluminescence. But that was kind of a trip. The whole thing with the Alaska air crash, that was pretty gnarly, especially when you get to thinking about it at night. The nighttime watchstanders, mostly the guys in deck department, had to keep an eye on stuff. And if you were in the boat like you were, I think, Rocky, looking for parts and stuff, that must have been a little bit creepy. But for me would be the bioluminescence. Now, when you're hauling ass, the wake creates the disturbances in the water that if the bioluminescence is capable of forming up, that disturbance of the water from the screws in the wake will do that. But one time I was on the bridge, I think I was on the Princeton, and if you're standing OD, you got a lot of time to stare out into nothingness, and while you wait for alarms to go off, especially at nighttime, because it's so dark. You have electrical tape over all the lights, red lights and stuff like that, to make it as dark as humanly possible so you can see everything out there. So you avoid crashing into other ships, But this one time, port side, we had this light on the horizon for an hour and a half, and kept checking the chart. It was obviously a piece of land. There's nothing on the chart. So long time went by. Eventually, I had to call the captain to the bridge because this light shouldn't have been there. But we finally got to it, and it was a super bright explosion of bioluminescence that was 2 miles long and maybe half a mile wide, in this huge I don't know, it was bigger than a racetrack, I guess. But we watched the chart, we watched the depth of the water, we drove right up to it, and we pretty much we didn't go through it, but we went alongside of it for about an hour, and then that was that. It was just amazing. It was just so much brighter than you would see if you go to the beach and you go, oh, I see it, that kind of thing. It was like a green patch of sea at 2:00 in the morning that had a huge freaking spotlights underneath it shining up through the ocean. It was wild. The other thing is that it's not so scary, but if you're really far out, like between Guam and any other point, when you're navigating and it's a nice night, you get your mind blown if you get a chance to see the sky, because with no lights around you for hundreds of miles, the sky is almost overcast looking. It's gray. Then you realize that it's gray because there's so many stars that you can't even tell them apart. And of course, it's the brighter ones are going to show up, but in the background, you can see clearly the side of the Milky Way, looking through the Milky Way. And if you're into that kind of stuff at all, definitely owe it to yourself sometime in life to get far away from lights to the desert or something like that and take a look at the sky, because it's a whole different thing than what we're used to.
I agree with that one. That we were talking about that the other night too. You get 1,000 miles out, and it is completely different than what you can see where on the land side. It's absolutely beautiful. And like you're saying, Joe, I would implore anybody in their lifetime, get out as far as you can away from land and actually look at the night sky. It'll blow your mind.
It's really a good sight to see.
One of the benefits besides visiting overseas countries is it's traveling across the ocean itself.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like being an engineer, you get up topside to smoke a cigarette, and it's pitch black out there at night, and you're used to, being in that space. Some of the topsiders, their spaces were pretty dark, anyways, but we're lit up, because we're under the water. So then you go outside and you almost run into shit, and you're just like, man. And then you see the bioluminescence, you see the Milky Way. I always thought it was cool because it felt different to look at the sky when you were up in the Pacific Northwest way out or down at the equator way out. The sky looked different, and it was just amazing. It's just amazing that you can look up and see that, and I mean, it's just crazy the little details that you can see. So cool.
One of the weirdest things I ever heard on the boat was not like that, but we was underway coming back from Yakutia to Everett, Washington, right? Out in the middle of the fucking Pacific. Now, I worked down the engine room long enough. I knew every sound of that engine room, right? The next thing I heard, like two thumps, like thump, thump, like we hit something. I don't know if it was a whale or a giant squid or what, right? But that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That was nothing. I was just running around checking equipment, all that. I was like, okay, everything's good. But I never heard those sounds again after that. So I'm thinking we hit something. Could have been.
Well, I want to piggyback off that, Gilly, really quick. I want to share this story of the USS Stein really quick that was attacked by a giant squid, and they were peeling teeth out of, or the claws out of the sonar dome. So you can read it right here. 1978, the USS Stein was apparently attacked by an unknown species of giant squid. Almost all the cuts of the sonar dome contained remains of the sharp curved claws that were found on the rims of the suction cups of some squid tentacles. These claws were much larger than any of those discovered squid species. So, we talk about, that's why we got squids in our background, and it's a funny nickname for us because the Navy's known as squids, that a squid would attack a naval vessel, a military vessel. And they had to dry dock that thing because it ruined the sonar dome outer layer, that rubber layer itself. So you have to really wonder as much as we travel, and that's something I want to throw up too, is that a lot of people don't realize, how much water and some of the stats there are because they don't sail. They just don't, they don't ever get a chance to, or, for whatever reason. But if you look at the amount of water, that's 352 quintillion gallons of water out there, right? That number is almost unfathomable for anybody to truly understand. But 352 quintillion gallons of water out there, right? And we know there's 228,000 species, and there's an estimated 2.1 yet to be discovered, right? Average depth, which is always funny. You ever hear the joke, there's always land around you, it's just 2 miles down? Well, average is about 2.3 miles down. So, with the amount, like you heard, something hit the side of the ship, USS Stein getting attacked, it's no wonder there's things that people see they don't talk about with cryptids. And, cryptids just don't have to be on the land. You got Loch Ness Monster, and there's so many, like we were talking about earlier, Thumper. There's probably underground caves and tunnel systems that these species can go in and hide in, and you're never going to map it because, like you were saying, with the radar and sonar, you're not going to see it. That return is not going to be there.
That can also be the same thing on land when you're looking at the land animal cryptids.
So I got that number of the Forest Service, how many acres they cover, and we'll go over that when we get to the land ones.
Yeah, that's some interesting stuff. I remember I wish I could find it. It was on Tales from the Grid Square. If you guys are watching this and you haven't heard of this page, it's freaking awesome, especially if you're into anything more exciting than fucking politics. in the way that people act and how stupid everything is. You can always look at cryptology. It's an exciting thing. It's political too, but you can at least learn something. And Tales from the Grid Square is this military, a guy from the army. He started getting reports from all these different cryptid sightings and mermaids and stuff like that. And there's one, I think it's the U.S. Navy, and they were in like Argentina or somewhere down there in South America, close to Antarctica, and these people heard mermaids singing and saw them, just like the sirens in Greek mythology.
Holy shit.
The same stuff. And then a couple years ago, there was a guy that was fishing in Boston around that area, and he had filmed it on TikTok of this stuff happening, like someone singing to him in a female voice. And this is in an area where it's almost off limits. There's this area off limits in Boston somewhere in that area that no one's allowed to go to. And it's like government controlled. And some people have theorized there might be mermaids living there. Who fucking knows? I mean, the world is a crazy place, and it gets more crazier as time goes on. Anyways.
Yeah, going back to Little Tate, what we were talking about, those tunnels and all that underwater, they could be extinct volcanic vents and stuff like that are being used. I mean, we know that there's volcanoes under the ocean, and I mean, 99% of our land was made by volcanoes. I mean, it's earthquakes and volcanoes. Sorry, not just 99%, but you got forces that are way bigger than us that are making big ass holes and tunnels and vents and everything else. I think it's very possible that stuff could be traveling undetected.
Here's the other thing about those vents. So the vents are a hot kind of topic now because they're just trying to find them all. So there's like 39,000 of these vents, and one might be as big as your finger, one might be as big as your house or whatever. But they're finding commonly with those vents, almost all of them have their own like ecosystem at the vent. In this hot, the water, the ocean water becomes not superheated, but really heated up by the releases of the gases from what would probably amount to be a volcano. But the thing with these ecosystems are these bizarre plants and animals that are living by the vents. It's like their own world, but they're trying to figure out how those species got to the vents, because these vents are miles down, crushing depths and long distances from each other in some cases, where, what kind of animal is just wandering around down there in the cold and crushing depth to find a vent to go hang out at? That's the mystery they're trying to solve now. It's almost like a miracle that these animals just become at the vent. It's just...
Well, and these other animals, they might be using extinct vents, ones that aren't being heated anymore. They were formed, and these tubes, lava tubes and stuff like that, and there's nothing in them now, so now they're using them to traverse the bottom of the ocean and go from place to place.
Exactly. So we wind up with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the old version from the 1940s or whatever it was, where spend all their time busting right up next to a cave and get out of the special boat and go explore and fight a monster and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, the Stein, interesting. I hadn't thought about the Stein in forever, but I do remember in 32nd Street, the Stein was stationed there. It was small enough that they would put it up right up against the quay wall instead of on the pier, and it was like a midget frigate. It was so small, it was almost like a big model, like a radio control thing. So that thing really, when they got attacked, that must have been quite a sensation. I was on the Carl Vinson when we hit a whale, and unless you get told you're hitting a whale, when you hit a whale, you got to stop, you got to reverse, and the reversing of the screws on a carrier shakes the whole ship. Then you're reversing. But I was sleeping, I just felt the vibration, and then the next day when I got up, I had found the whale gets wrapped around the bow of the ship, and you got to back out from it and go around the corpse or whatever and keep going. But the Stein being attacked by a giant squid, man, that must have been literally like a science fiction movie.
I mean, sailors for hundreds of years have been, if you look at maps, they've got crazy animals and fish and stuff on the maps. There might be something to that.
That's a good point. That kind of tells you that this shit existed. These guys
It's
weren't
been
making
around.
it up because, like, I remember, dude, I saw some medieval, like, maps from like 900 and 1200 AD around that time period. And there was like, here there be dragons. They had like giants. They had like weird dragon looking things on it and all kinds of stuff, like mermaids. I'm like, the stuff is not made up. It's like people really saw this stuff.
I want me a mermaid. That's what I want.
No, you don't.
Yes,
You
I
want me
do.
to? I'll read you the origin of the mermaid
I
or
know.
the
I know.
siren.
Oh shit! You remember the movie The Cabin in the Woods, and he wanted the mermaid to end him, and then finally it comes out and eats him, and it's like shooting blood out of its fucking
Yeah.
back.
Well, the reason I said I want to be a mermaid, everyone gives jarheads, right? Thinking they screw anything, right? Like, you don't know a 7 Fleet sailors.
That's very true. Very
You
true.
know, come on. That's why I said that. So, but it would be awesome just to be able to see a mermaid. I think, anyways, a real life fucking mermaid.
Well, it's crazy because like you read the tales from the Gred Square stuff, and it talks about that stuff.
Well,
Man, they talk about all kinds of stuff. Like
I mean,
they talk about,
everybody has seen the movie Splash, right?
yeah.
I think that's what made me fall in love with Mermaid, right? That movie right there.
I got a funny story about that that has to do with my wife.
Okay.
One day, this was before we were dating, we were just getting to know each other, and she's like, "Hey, man, I want some Red Lobster," and I'm like, "I'll fly if you buy." So we went to Red Lobster somewhere like LA, near LA Air Force Base or something like that, right? And remember the scene where the mermaid is eating all the shellfish in the
Yep.
movie in the restaurant? That
Yep.
is exactly what my wife did.
She's gonna kick your
I
ass for
stared
telling
I
that
stared
story.
at her. She had butter and everything. I was like, this is like Splash in real life. Oh my God.
Heidi is gonna fucking kill you, brother.
But
She's
you
gonna
know
kill
what?
you for that one.
I talk about that all the time, and I'm like, that's part of the reason I thought she was cute. She wanted some seafood, and she went and got it. And it was pretty funny because she was who she was in front of me, right? There wasn't any hiding anything, which I did appreciate.
Not anymore. And like going back to what Rocky was saying about maps, you know, you like we were talking earlier, you look at a Komodo dragon and how big it is, and it can take out a mule, but you confine it and you make it, you know, on a smaller area, then yeah, they tend to shrink like we were talking about. There's tons of amphibians like snakes and things like that that are huge now. Can you imagine? Like we've already done studies from different Jurassic periods of how big things were. So, you know, a lot of these things I think are holdovers the from those eras. You know, there's the what fish is it? The coelacanth, I think it is.
Yeah, there you go. Coelacanth, yeah.
Yeah, that's held over from prehistoric time. So it lives to the caves, the volcanic tubes, these maps, you know, a squid attacking a ship, you know, all
Look at turtles. Look how long they live.
oh, look at that.
And crocodiles too, man. And crocodiles.
Oh yeah, still got the boobs on it, the mermaids.
Yeah, I got one.
Yep.
I got one like that has the tits on it.
This one's not even filled out. I don't even know how I got a hold of these, but I have about 40 of these. And I was looking for some fight memorabilia the other day, and I found everything but in this stack of giant prints from the Constellation, I had a big stack of these. There's like 30 or 40 of them. So if anybody's going to want one of these, I mean, they're blank too. These aren't correct. Somebody just threw them in this box. So I have no idea where I got
I have
that
my
long.
golden. I have my golden shell back, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I can't find my original shellback one before we got gold one.
I
I can't
don't know where
find
my
that
card
one.
went. I don't know where my card went. I have
Well,
the
you can
golden
get that
shellback
card.
too.
You can get that car from Tiffany Publishing Company out of fucking Virginia. You can still get them.
Can you?
Yep. Because
I'll
I
have to
lost
see.
I lost my operation during Freedom one that we got on the Laboon for that. So I just got it in the mail the other day. So I reordered it because I wanted that one. You know, but you can still get them. They have
Yeah,
the
I
cap
don't know where my
signature,
card went.
everything.
I
So
have
they
my
kept everything on file for that.
I have my scroll. It's it's framed. So
Yeah.
that one's framed, but I don't know where the card went.
But you get the card again. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at those, I mean, look at our history for the Navy and the different things we do as tradition, right? And look at all of the charts from way back when, and the crossing the line scroll and all that, the everything that's on it. There's a reason why that's all been on there for hundreds of years. It's not just. I don't think it's folklore. I've never personally seen anything, but at the same time, I can't say that they don't exist because I've never seen them. So I mean, it's kind of hard to, especially knowing how big the ocean is. It's so huge compared to our land and what's been explored land wise versus ocean wise.
Yeah,
Ocean-
it's
ocean's
not
a bit
final.
less-
is just crazy different because you've got land which is easily accessible. Not, I say easily, but like Everest is not easy, but it can be explored. Whereas you can't get down in that Mariana Trench and walk around and see what's down there.
Swimming on top of it is fucked up, though. We both of us have done that, man. You're paddling the water. The ship's 100 feet away, and there's 5.5 miles of water underneath your feet. Now we brushed over this, I think, in episode 8, but man, I certainly had the thoughts about some gigantic shark big enough that he just cruises by, swallows everybody whole, and it's over. And why am I in the water? So that's about at that point I'm like, okay, I'm done with this.
Some of these might not exist now, but who's to say they didn't exist in the 1500s? Or
they still do. I think they still exist. Be honest with you.
It's possible, but what I'm saying is, if back then they could have been held over from when everything was bigger, and as like I said, you take a goldfish, you put it in a bowl, right? It doesn't get that big, but you put it in a pond and it becomes this gigantic koi fish. It's all about its environment, and what we've done to the environment of all these animals is shrink their environment because we're now encroaching on it.
That's a great point. Gilly's onto something there. So on Gilly's point, this all goes back to the Guinness Book of World Record. I used to read all the time as a kid. The coelacanth thing, I remember specifically, that's 36 million years ago. They thought they went extinct, and then they found them when fishing. But with these sharks, so with Gilly's thing, I mean, I remember seeing a picture of some guy in the jawbone of a extinct shark. But who the fuck says that? Who says it's extinct? A 90-foot long shark with freaking a bite 10 feet wide could be cruising out there right now.
And they're still out there. They have found evidence of these great massive great whites, right? Have these scars on them. No one can do that as a megalodon, in their opinion. But they're still searching. I watch Shark Week all the time. I love that.
Yeah, megalodon. That's the one I was thinking of. That
because I always want to see some motherfucker get bit in half for some reason. I mean, because to me, I think, man, I would never do that. I'm a little crazy sometimes, but I ain't that fucking crazy.
Didn't Jackass do something like that?
Probably did. Probably know those jackasses.
They did one where they fucking dressed up like a zebra. It was fucking Steve-O and fucking what's his name? Those dudes are the funniest ones.
Wasn't it
Chris Pontius, right?
Pontius,
I don't know if it was Jackass. It was either Jackass or the Wild Boys. I saw that shit. I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was definitely a Wild Boys.
I think it was a Wild Boys Shark Week one. But no, I mean, I definitely don't think that, we know everything for sure. I think that there is so much that we have not seen. I mean, we were just talking about this earlier before we started the podcast. The fish that they just saw for the first time, or second time now, up by the surface that they've never seen before, other than this first 2 times, and this time it came up to die.
The oarfish,
anglerfish, or whatever it's called.
It's an oarfish too. This fish is like 80 feet long, and it actually swims vertically. And now that everybody's seen a couple of oarfishes, they're washing up on beaches more frequently. But people know what they're looking for. But in the old days, like you said, that would freak everybody out.
Wasn't that one where they're like the Marines are holding it like the Philippines? There's like 30 Marines like
Yeah, yeah. It's very rare to see them, but somebody, I think the first footage somebody actually got of one of them
Yeah.
was only like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was sick, but it was still alive.
Yep.
It's just like a fish. I don't even know. It's probably a foot wide and like 80 feet long, but it's just vertical.
That's the anglerfish. They just
Yeah, there's that
saw
one. Yeah.
they just saw one of those
yeah. I remember that.
for the first time. It's the second time they've ever seen one that close to the surface, and it came up to die, and they're gonna study it because they are so hard to get to because they're so far down.
I want to eat that damn thing. I want to flay it up, chunk it up, deep fry that damn thing, batter it up.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know how well that would taste.
Hey,
and this is what
we live in the Midwest. We'll fucking eat coon, possum, anything. We don't care.
Well, you ain't
Come
lying
on.
there.
Well, and what we were talking to prior to, like that anglerfish coming up to the surface, this reads, the title is Doomsday Fish, foreshadows earthquakes.
Yep.
So it's interesting that, we're talking about, this fish coming up and, the thermal vents down at the bottom and everything. They start coming up out of the way because they might have, an idea. It's like deer running from earthquakes or animals know when
wildfires. Yeah. Yeah, they know that there's a natural disaster coming, so they're trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
That's
one
ribbon fish. I think I saw something on that ribbon fish. Man, when was that? A couple of years ago. They actually had multiple of those fish showing up, and they were trying to figure out why. God, when was that? I don't even remember when that was.
Sorry, guys. Somebody tried to call me tonight, so I missed about a minute there. I don't know how to read this phone.
Yeah, they're
the subject?
completely different. Let's see here.
This is cool. We're doing oceans and dinosaurs, and that's right up my alley. So
I got a crazy map I want to show you guys.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
it's quite interesting. It's like a map of Africa. Africa's on top, and I think Europe's on bottom. And this is like medieval. I don't know what year this is, but if you look at it, I'm going to try and make it as big as possible for the screen. You will see that they have like griffins and all kinds of fucking strange creatures, like dragons and all kinds of stuff. And I'll run my little mouse thing on it, and I'll show you guys because it's pretty interesting. Actually, it's
that's when the dwarves ruled the world.
The dwarves. A wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means. All right, you guys see this? Look it down here. What the fuck is that?
Whoa.
See that? This is medieval shit.
Nope.
Yeah.
You got castles, a bunch of castles, and all this stuff all over the place. So it's making me think that something's not being told in our world history. It's like there's all kinds of weird animals. Like there's this weird looking thing here with some kind of tail. It looks like a dragon. A dragon without wings. Here's a dragon with wings. Another dragon with wings. Another dragon with wings. And this is by Africa.
Well, and you know that
it's so weird.
All the land was attached at one point together.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't be too far stretched that people from other cultures have seen things that are now not in their area but in somebody else's area because it's the way it was all together. It's a good possibility.
Here's another map right here that's pretty interesting.
And that's where the flat earthers come into play too, sometimes too.
Well, we won't get into that today.
I know, but I mean,
here's another one.
We've all seen the curve of the earth.
We just talked about it with the stars.
We've fallen off the edge 100 times, each one of us.
Right.
Well, I mean, we can still go down that rabbit hole one day. There's a lot to go down.
There actually is a lot to go down. Let me see.
I mean, I love going down rabbit holes sometimes. I'm retired now. Dude, sometimes I just fucking want to go down the rabbit holes and see what I can find sometimes.
I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning. I went down the rabbit hole early.
I know you did. Because I saw you on Facebook when I was watching the last of the Cobra Kai videos when it came out today on Netflix.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was
Like
up.
here's a weird map with this fucking weird thing.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that supposed to be King Neptune?
Maybe.
I don't know, but if you look, she looks like she got some titties, so it might be a succubus. I mean, who knows?
Well,
No.
and I want to add to your map, Rocky, especially with this right here, this image of the guy reaching out, is that on that same report, there's an estimated 3.2 million shipwrecks out there. 3.2 million. So that tells you there's been people sailing for a long time and a lot of people sailing.
That could have been a Kraken. Unleash the Kraken.
Right?
Release the Kraken. Yeah, but I mean, there's so much crazy stuff out there. Like there was one I had, it had a cryptid, and it was like this guy. They have stories of these things in Africa. When I find the picture of it, I'll show you guys. It's one of the weirdest fucking things I ever seen in my life. But it's interesting as shit.
So what do you got up? So Gonawanda?
Yeah, that's when as Thumper said, when all the land was one chunk.
Yep.
Before the tectonic plates started pushing everything apart. So that's what they call it, Gondwana.
Yeah.
And that's recent. That's 400 million years ago. Honestly, that's not that long ago. You know, I mean, a lot of our lives are just blinks of an eye in the length of the earth. But yeah, a lot of changes going on, a lot of earthquakes and all that other stuff. You know, every time you go over some tectonic plate thing, you never know what's going to happen. And the Navy's out there. You know, we've had recent giant tsunamis and stuff where we just happened to be in the area and went over to help out the people that had been killed, not killed, but were still alive. Like that one in what the heck was that one in
Japan?
I can't remember. No, the one
Japan,
before,
Thailand,
the one before that. The one
India,
before that,
Thailand,
all the tourists got killed in the
Thailand.
yeah, those islands really got crunched, man. I mean, we were over there we were doing hospital work, bringing them water, bringing them food. I mean, we were like lifelines, man. It's like if you have a power generator helping your house after a power loss. These amphib ships, LHCs, LHAs, were over there doing everything for those countries for a couple of months, I guess. Man,
Well,
so good such a good outfit to be in the Navy.
You know, I mean, look at just the activity under our feet. You know, I mean, look at Yellowstone. You know, magma's moving right now. You know, they're not saying that it's going to erupt anytime soon, but you know, these super volcanoes and these earthquakes have reshaped our Earth who knows how many times. You know, and it's left paths for these animals or monsters, whatever you want to call, to for them to move. You know, and like you said, we're a blip in the history of this world, and there's crazy gaps. If you look at history, and I'm big on that, there's crazy gaps as far as human history. So before human history and into where we are now, there's a big gap, right? But animals and these different things, they don't have those gaps, right? You have everything from microorganisms all the way to the Jurassic. You got dinosaurs. You've got saltwater.
There was 4 or 5 mass extinctions where like one of them, I don't know how long it was, a billion years ago, that were like 95% of every living organism was killed in it, and it restarts the whole world, finding a different way to exist and have animal life coming in. It all leads up to where we're at, sitting in our chairs right now doing this podcast. It's pretty wild, you know.
Yeah, and not to get too far off subject, because it does go back to the mass extinction. You know, they're saying there's an asteroid or whatever in 2032, I think, or 35, that's supposed to be getting really close to us, that they can't. They're going to lose track of it because they won't be able to see it for a while. You know, so there's the Earth and the universe resets itself, and I think it does it to where it leaves just enough to restart, and history, memory is wiped, and then it starts over, so I think, these things, whatever is in the deep is going to stay in the deep, it's gonna decay down there and get ate, and we'll never know. A lot of times we'll never physically see it. Unless you get these weird instances like this anglefish or anglerfish or whatever, where randomly one of two now has shown their faces up by the surface, that we've been able to find. And those ribbon fish, same thing. For the longest time, those were kind of a myth. And then all of a sudden they found a bunch of them. And it's like, holy shit, So yeah. I think definitely there's more to it.
Here's that one I was talking about, boys. This is interesting. I remember as a little boy seeing this in books, and I didn't know what to think of it.
Oh shit!
There's pictures that are from the 19th century that have things like this on it. Like they look real from the 19th century. And there was this series of books that I want to find that I'll show you the series when I pull it up. It's the Time Life books, Mysteries of the Unknown.
Billy's laughing because he knows who that is. That's one of his relatives. So.
Well, no, those are some fucking Arkansas people. Inbred's down Arkansas. Come on now. And Alabama.
Alabama, man.
Sweet old Alabama.
Boy, you got a pretty mouth.
And we're going off the rails.
There it goes.
Hey.
That one's a little far-fetched, Rocky, I must say. So
It's fucking weird, but this is the book series I'm talking about. Like, this is the book series that got me interested in all the crazy shit that I like to look at because it's more exciting than fucking politics.
Before all these scientists came up with these modern compounds to alter your mind, there was mushrooms for very many hundreds of thousands of years. So yeah, I mean, folks knew how to entertain themselves in back in those days, I'm sure,
So you can blame these books.
With the peyote. Come on now.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Like these are the books that were really interesting. They were like from the late 80s to the early 90s, and we had like almost the whole collection. And then my dad said, "No more." I'm trying to get my hand on all 33 volumes of this book.
It looked like album cover Journey.
Dude, I like the psychic power ones. Remember, it reminds me of Ghostbusters. Very
Yeah, a couple of waving lines. Yeah. All right. Well, more cryptids or ghosts or whatever the hell we want to talk about. It doesn't matter.
I'm with you. Like, I got interested in all this stuff when I was, younger because, there's always folk tales from, areas that we live. And everybody's got them. I think where the funniest one was that kind of really shit on cryptids was, remember the jackalope? You got kind of up there, and it was like people found out it was like a mule deer, and they were putting antlers on a rabbit afterwards, and it became a big joke. So after that, you're kind of like, is there really cryptids out there? You know what I mean? Like making it a joke. And this was back during the 90s, 80s, 90s. I know it's been around for a while.
Kind of like an elephant screwing a pig. I would love to see that, to be honest with you.
You're fucking sick.
That's actually a South Park episode.
I know.
I think it has the guy that they make fun of with Marlon Brando. He's like, Here is a monkey with 4 asses. Here's an elephant with 4 asses. Like, what do you need 4 asses for? That's a big fucking toilet. I'm just saying. It's silly, but it's true. Oh man.
I'm going down this list of the cryptids in Wiki, and I don't know if I've ever met any of these guys, but some of this stuff is absolutely real. The moa, it's an ostrich that was like 14 feet tall, and I don't know if actual photos have been done of them, but they were around in not that long ago. Prehistoric times, but recent prehistoric times, and Bigfoot and some of the Neanderthals still being alive in Europe and crossbreeding and stuff like that. But as far as the ocean goes, it's probably the coolest thing, with Champ and the Loch Ness Monster and all those other guys. But for us, it's a whole different world because we are out there in the real ocean, blue water Navy. I mean, you could just like dream yourself, just imagine yourself into sleep at night. Try not to be scared thinking about that. But yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, Joe, on that one. It's majestic out there, and you're right. People need to take that time, man. At least do it once in your life. Get out there. Take a trip out. And I'm not talking like a carnival fucking cruise. Go out. Go out in the ocean. Go out 500 to 1,000 miles, and then really see what's going on out there.
It's a lot of trust, man. I mean, if you got shipmates making sure the ship's not sinking, and if everybody's sleeping good at night, they're either not thinking about how dangerous it is to really truly be out there, or they understand. It's almost like the more you learn about your job when you're in the Navy, the longer you stay in, the more you realize more shit can go wrong. And it's amazing that things actually go right. Like the Harry S. Truman collided with a big ass bulk carrier yesterday. Now we're all waiting for the initial Navy statement is the usual like watered down textbook crap that the reactors are okay and nobody died, and that doesn't say much though, So we'll see. I mean, I originally I thought they had hit some fishing boat or something like that, but just had to announce it. But then I looked at the screen on my TV and I said, I'm gonna type in that ship's name, and I was like, holy shit, that's not good. So
it's inherently dangerous enough as it is just being out 1,000 miles away from land, where fires and weather and I mean, you name it. Even just a health emergency. You can't call 911. You are 911, and so like just thinking about like some of those storms we went through in the Pacific Northwest. The masts on the Fife are designed to snap off at like 45 degrees. We hit 42 and a half. And it's like, okay, that kind of stuff makes you really think about like how close you are to the edge.
And they wonder why we're all fucking crazy.
Right?
Honestly,
one time,
I don't think we're crazy at all. We're not crazy.
Go ahead, Rocky. Go ahead.
I don't think we're crazy. I think we're just more open. We're more aware of what's actually really out there, somewhat. And we also are able to keep an open mind about stuff because we've seen some really weird, bizarre shit. Whether it was our time in the military or just living life. I mean, like in North Carolina, there's the legend of the little people out here. There's also Bigfoot out here. There's also like a dog man. And they have Black Panthers out here, like real Black Panthers. So, I mean, it's interesting that when you look at every state, there's all these different things, and who knows if they're real or not. I mean, I think some of it is real. It's just bizarre, and it makes life more interesting. It's not just boring human boring crap.
And I think, that leads credence too, because like the little people are like fairies too. And fairies, and it goes back to what Joe's saying and Thumper with, all one mass of the earth, because you'll get that over in Scotland and Ireland and other places that.
Yeah. I mean, there's stories of fairies. They look like gray aliens and they abduct children.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the changeling comes from too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
stories of migrating, and that's like sailor stories. It's the same thing, all together, and it leads credence. I mean, that's why, like, we've got one in Little People too. There's actually a place in Huntington. A guy used to build kind of like just different kinds of like houses. We called it Munchkin Land, and you used to be able to go through it till people started vandalizing it. There's a fence up there now, but there was probably hundreds of houses, about half the size of an outhouse. And they're just all different styles. And that's what this guy did. Just built houses in the front of his land, believing in little people like fairies and shit. He was building houses for them. lived out right on the edge of town. We were, I don't know, 16 when we were out there driving around. So looking at it, that's what you hear these stories, local stories. You're like, oh, that's bullshit. And you can drive up there and you're like, whoa, somebody believes in this. And it's a what if. I mean,
That's where I come from, the little people.
yeah, you little short. And recently I just had this happen in my best friend's house.
Took me a second.
He lost his fucking car key, right?
Uh-huh.
On a lanyard and shit. And he had been talking about things getting stolen from outside the house. Like,
Oh shit.
What?
I actually was gonna mute myself and hit little Tate. Unmute it, little Tate. Come on. Sorry.
you
I
put
was
me
trying to mute.
time out. I might as well get a dunce cap.
No. I was gonna mute myself because I was gonna tell River he don't have school tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't they have school tomorrow?
No, staff professional day, right? The Monday is President's Day. So
Is that how they're making it so they can do OnlyFans in the schools?
That's it.
I don't know.
Shit, my kids
man. I'll mute myself now. Sorry.
That's okay. It's fine. No, that's funny. I had a really good friend that he lives out in the country on the edge of town too, and he was getting things stolen, and he kept asking me like, "Hey, what do you think it is?" And I was like, "Dude, you got fucking fairies out there." And what had happened, he lost his key, and then that very next day, he found his lanyard laid out, not dropped or in a crumble, but laid out in the snow, about 5 feet from the car. So he was like, what do I do? And I was like, one of the local ones is put some shiny shit out on your porch and put some alcohol in there. This guy doesn't drink. So he was out there pouring shots, for him. And I know alcohol evaporates over time, but the shit would be gone the next morning. Like a full shot glass would be gone. And he noticed the shit stopped going missing. So he did this for like a good 6 months.
And where is this at again?
This is in Indiana, right outside of Warren.
Huh. So they have a little people legend out there, or fairies?
Yeah, it's the same thing with the Munchkin Land in Huntington and him getting stuff stolen. And you'll hear people talk about, old farmers will talk about it. Anybody that's lived in the country, a lot of people are indoors by dark. That's they're in. And if they have to go outside, they're going out there with a shotgun or they're going out armed because of the stories that are out there from land cryptids, in Indiana itself. I don't know of any old farmers that go out after dark, man. They lock everything down, lights are on, they're in by dark. So, I grew up that shit, still see it to this day. Now, more so the land stuff than I do, with the sea stuff. That, just one of the examples we'll be talking about little people.
Yeah, I mean, that we got the legends out here. Apparently at Eastern Carolina University, they have skeletons of them. And I learned this through listening to Blurry Creatures. And, they have UFO sightings out here also. There's a lot of strange stuff out here. Of course, this is the Appalachian Mountains. And the Appalachians have a freaking reputation for being just a weird, bizarre, and creepy place. I remember there's another story I heard about a Bigfoot. It was an albino Bigfoot that kept a little kid safe for like 2 or 3 days when he went missing. And this is like on the border where Tennessee and North Carolina are, on the 40. Like they have a forest out there, or a national park. I don't know what the name of it is, but the kid went missing, and something that the kid called a big bear kept him safe. And this was not too long ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, maybe. So, I mean, it's crazy.
I want to add on to that, like we were talking about earlier, the amount of land that the Forest Service actually takes care of, and it's amazing, the amount that's out there that people don't realize. But they make over 193 million acres of land, roughly the size of Texas, throughout the U.S. And like you're saying, in the Appalachian, when I drove through West Virginia, you have all of those, national parks, and you drive for miles, and there's nobody living in those forests. And when it gets like fall time, everything's open. You can see just how much land in the mountains is out there. And you're telling me there ain't nothing of a cryptid or something we can't identify living out there in these areas? It makes you wonder if the land's actually being protected because they know it's there.
Stay out of there. Don't go.
There is an episode called The Deep Underground Military Bases by the Confessionals. And there's a woman that talks about this kind of crap. Wow. And it's almost like they want you to stay out of these national forests because there's either a secret base there or they're doing scientific testing. Like it delves into the conspiracy thing, but as we've seen the past couple of months, past 4 years, what else is going to surprise us that we thought was true that's actually true now? It's interesting because of, I was talking about stuff like that 20 years ago and people thought I was crazy. And now they're like, well, I guess you were right, Rocky. I said, yeah, I was right. I'm not fucking crazy.
We're never wrong. It sometimes takes people a little bit longer to catch up.
Yeah.
Like me. Here I am.
Man, I'm trying to find that story of the mermaids. I'm looking through Instagram right now, trying to find it if I can find it at all.
Well, one thing I do miss one thing I don't like about Southern California is you got to go a long ways to go to somewhere where you can put your foot on the ground where no person has been there before or laid concrete on it or fucking ran over it with a bulldozer or something. Cities, minimum suburban life was good for me. I grew up suburban. We had lots of woods. Interestingly enough, all the woods I used to constantly hike through when I was a kid were polluted. I mean, they were polluted. Probably what happened to me was like my brain got polluted. But anyways, as the environmental laws changed in Western Massachusetts and in Massachusetts, all these critters have come back since I lived there. So now the regular neighborhood kids' houses have like bears it's stuck in the trees and they got to call the fire department, or there's cougar sightings, or there's like four-legged cougar sightings, or lots more deer and moose have come back where they're like in the road. It must be amazing to have, you got to look out in your yard to see if you could just pop out there because you might have a bear, right outside your door. And that because of the pollution, there was nothing like that when I was a kid there.
Well, talk about the bears, right? See, we got bears in Missouri here, black bears, brown bears. The problem is with bears coming into neighborhoods, all these dumb motherfuckers that never lived out in the country, never hunted, they feed them.
Oh, geez.
Once you start feeding wild animals, they're going to go over to food sources and they wonder why bears try to come into their house.
Yeah.
They're wild animals, people. You shoot them, for food. Plain and simple.
I saw some Instagram post yesterday of some lady reaching out the back door of her house to feed a moose, like an orange or something like that. And man, the comment section, you go straight to the comment section, everybody was like, you fucking idiot, do not do that. That is the dumbest thing to do. That animal is 1 second away from you killing you if it wants to kill you in a moment. It's just, full grown moose, that's something you don't want in your yard hanging out looking for more food tomorrow. So absolutely.
My brother, he lives in Fort Collins, Colorado. Well, a lot of times we spend a lot of time when I go out there, Estes Park, because I got some hiking trails and all that. All these people had never been around wild animals. They saw this elk on the trail. They were trying to corner it. I told them, I said, leave that elk alone. I said, that elk's going to charge you and kill you. And I had River, he was like a year old. I had strapped to my chest. I said, come on, little buddy, we're getting the fuck out of here. And that elk did charge him. Luckily, no one got hurt. But people are just fucking stupid sometimes.
Like the try to get pictures of buffalo, fucking charging them, and
yeah.
They're trying to get selfies with take a picture from afar, people. Come on.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was in South Dakota not too long ago in the bison, and we were driving through the Badlands National, park, and they were just chilling and laying down in the field and stuff, and
Oh
they
shit!
look all cuddly and shit, but you need to stop muting people.
I know. God damn it! What the
He
fuck did I
muted you,
do?
Rocky.
Sorry, Rocky.
He muted
Sorry.
you.
I was trying to share something. I hit the wrong fucking button again. Son of a bitch.
I muted myself so I wouldn't make any extra noise from
Oh, okay.
clicking.
I thought I did
Oh,
it this time again. I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna
but
lay my hand off the mouse from now on. Fuck it.
they look all cuddly and shit, but you get near one of them, because we got them here too. We got farms here that raise bison, and they're no joke. You don't want to get close to them. Some of these people, you know, get too close to nature, and they end up paying the price, and that's on them. Because there's signs, you're told, do not get out of your vehicle.
Oh, fellas, I got a story. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it takes place in the Philippines and it's about sirens. You want me to read it to you?
Oh hell yeah!
I'll share it. I'll share it with you guys. Hang on a sec. I'll share it. That way I can because it's really interesting. This shit's so interesting. And it's entertaining and it gets your mind off of all the stupid retarded crap going.
Political stuff. Yeah.
All right, let me make this bigger. All right. I was on a wine sweeper about 3 years ago when we were in our operation box off the coast of the Philippines. It was about 202 to 0300, and I was helmsman. I looked out the bridge wing and I saw a glowing dot on the water about 1,000 meters out. The OOD and I called up to the forward lookout to ask what he would ask if what we were seeing to see if they were seeing, right? He confirmed and said it wasn't showing up on his thermal. So he told us he would look through the big eyes. He seemed unnerved over the radio and said he wouldn't say what he saw. So I was
Oh
on
shit.
told by the OOD to switch out with another crew member and go forward to see what it is going on. I reached the watchstander and looked through the binoculars. Immediate chills went through my bones. It was a lady in white just floating, watching us. I closed and rubbed my eyes because I was in denial about what I was seeing. I looked through them again, and it was closer, about 500 meters away. At this point, the word had gotten out, and all watchstanders topside tracking this ghostly thing. My friend came to my position and took his camera out. He zoomed in and tried to take a picture. We looked down, and he showed me the picture, but nothing was captured on the image. In the image, suddenly I heard a shriek. My buddy and I looked back up. The lady was gone. I went back to the bridge, and the OD said that the thing zoomed toward the ship and disappeared into thin air within 10 feet of the bridge wing. No one that night ever reported that incident. No one ever mentioned it again. After all, who would believe us? We never saw anything like that again. What
That's
do you
wild.
think about that? There's numerous stories like that. I'm going to stop sharing, and if I can find another one, I'll read it to you guys because this shit's interesting.
He wasn't rubbing his eyes.
It was a rub down.
Sorry, I can't help it sometimes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Gotta have one.
Yeah.
Hey, it's you. It's you all, a bunch of others that broke me out of my shyness, broke me out of my shell when I first got to the five.
Yeah,
Oh
I know.
shit!
Well, I was already broke out of my shell when you got the little tail. I'm talking like Rocky, fucking Whitney, Delp, Boswell, Johnson, Johnson, Stafford,
Bitch,
Luda, Paz.
Herb.
Remember Paz, don't you, Rocky?
Yeah, Pasquale. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that guy. I don't even know if he's
I
alive
don't
anymore.
know. You know, a lot of guys helped me give me out of my shell, like Kavanaugh. Good took me to my first Bobby drink bar in the Hodge.
That's an eye opener.
God, Good was so nasty too. It'd be after a shower, sitting ball deck, fucking naked on there, and you're like, dude, you know how nasty this deck is? I don't give a fuck. Sitting there doing. no towel on or nothing. Sitting there. Man, did I tell you that I had a guy steal my fucking boxers off the drying line since we were talking about drying lines earlier?
Was it Hugel?
No, it was a guy that
Yeah.
after you left. I had my boxers all set up there, and
That's
there's one missing in the middle. And I'm
probably
like,
Swanson.
no, it wasn't Swanson. It was another kid, newer kid. I can't remember his name. Anyway, I get out my rack one morning and he's wearing them. And I just start making fucking fun of him. And Roan is like, do you want me to write him up? And I was like, no, I think I've already embarrassed him enough. And I even grabbed the front of him because I had my name in them and like ripped it open. I was like, yeah, look at this motherfucker. What does that say? GSM3 Smith. It's funny when you see shit like that on the boat too. You wouldn't believe something like that. Somebody stealing your underwear.
Topsiders know one thing is that the engineers are crazy for the most part. So they're in a whole different. It's like ship split in half. Just stay out of it.
Well, we got to be a little crazy to be a snipe
They were
because
trying
we're
to-
the only dumb motherfuckers going down to engine rooms that's fucking anywhere from 100 to fucking 180 degrees.
That's right.
And also when it comes down to wartime, GQ and all that shit, zero quarters, dude, we're the fucking ones that's fucking below this, line. So we're the first ones to fucking die, most likely. So you got to be a little crazy to do that job.
Well, and it goes back to the snipe slayment. The men who sail below.
Yeah.
If anybody looks that up, the snipe slayment kind of falls into it, and it makes a lot of sense.
That's why we worked hard and we played even harder too.
Yep.
That will shut your water off, shut your ventilation off too. Fuck with us. Maintenance.
Well, it's an accident. We just realigned some pipes, and guess what? You're fucked there, topsiders.
And Owen, he was a big one on the AC one. Okay, you fuck with him? Okay, I'll shut your ass off. Fuck you. I'm doing maintenance.
Motherfuckers like jail for real. Like Thumper was saying, we're our own fire department, so it's like jail out there. Go ahead, fuck with the wrong group of people, and they're gonna make your life miserable.
If you didn't have
Supply.
us, the topsiders couldn't do their fucking jobs. They'd have us.
Yeah.
Yep. Remember, Supply learned their lesson that one time. We shut all their shit off to their berthing.
Well, we shut the shit off to the fucking galley one day too.
Well, yeah, that too. But no, I mean, like, we turned that shit off to the berthing for quite a while. They didn't have anything. No water, no electricity.
No AC,
that whole thing was just isolated because, they were right above us.
Yeah.
So all their isolation valves were right where we needed them. And it was just easy to just isolate that whole fucking berthing for deck.
No, that was Supply, not Deck. Deck was forward.
Or Supply, yep, Supply, you're right. Yep. And then they came down and knocked on the door instead of just walking in like they should have, They knew better than to walk into our berthing.
Well, Deck never did. We used to have some real rumbles in Japan with Deck. Between engineering and fucking Deck. Oh my God. I mean, Deck has some crazy motherfuckers too, don't get me wrong.
That's a tough job too, though. I mean, seeing anchor details for those guys where they're standing out there for hours, especially getting underway and pulled into port in Everett, man, that air was cold up there. Not in like snow cold, but that.
Well, I was nice and warm down on the OD box until I fell asleep one day, fell off the OD box and made two.
What did you land on?
Fucking steel. Luckily, I was still fucking half drunk, so my body just went limp.
Oh, the Truman got in an accident, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a story of the USS Harry S. Truman about it being haunted right here. I won't read it, though. I'm trying to find that one story, and then I want to try and find another one that's really interesting.
We're just killing time till you find it. That's all we're doing.
Oh, we'll keep talking.
When you said haunted again, the Fife was on a old website of haunted areas. Like it was an amalgamation of, and this was way back in like 2002. I seen it on there. There was a few stories outside of ours that are on there.
Let's see if I can find that.
Fife was listed. It was an old like bulletin board style You know how those were back in the day? We just click on different places, and the fight was on there.
Let me see if I
And
can find that here.
at the time that was actually on this website. It may still be on there.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have found it. Let me see here. I might have found it.
It's like
I am a little technically, not technically, technology inclined sometimes, but
Well, you're doing a good job there, sailor. Keep up the good work.
see, I'm
Old
just a
Mr.
dumbass
Krabs is
redneck.
happy with you. Old Mr. Krabs is say keep on doing the good stuff, sailor.
Nope, that
Now,
wasn't the one. Nope, that was not it. Sorry.
Fife, the location in the United Kingdom, is really haunted. I'm sure it's just a coincidence because our ship was named after a namesake rather than a location. So,
But
yeah, but it's a pretty spooky place. 5 haunted places to visit in Fife, United Kingdom. Okay, I'll skip it. Not going. Spooky Isles website. That's crazy. No, thanks.
I can't find it though, so because everything comes like Port Harbor, like USS Arizona and all that other shit, right, from World War II and and before.
Well, it'd suck to be a ghost that hunts the Fife because it's now at the bottom of the ocean. Pretty fucking boring right there.
Might be a good spot for them. I mean, maybe they got peace there finally if they went down with it. And that's what they're probably saying to each other. This is where we're supposed to be. So they're just down there with Davy Jones hanging out. And
Well, that's like one thing I want to know is when there were helo crashed on the deck, we was not there yet, right? This is way before our time on the Five. Did anybody ever die on that?
no. I remember funny coincidence, but I went to the the Princeton, and my '06 commanding officer on the Princeton when I got there was the CO of the Fife when the helicopter crashed. So that was
That's back in the '80s, wasn't it? Early '90s, late
46.
'80s, or something.
What's the double-ended one? The helicopter CH-46 or something like that. But that thing crashed and it fell, and amazingly, the whole helicopter hung vertically off the nose wheel that got caught up in the God, I can't remember what they're called for, but when there's nets that the steel mesh nets that when you fall off the flight deck, you land in a net, right? So safety net, whatever they call it, and there's a frame around that safety net because they're all individually foldable to bring them up to. So when you go to flight quarters, you lower all them so the helo won't hit them. But that's what saved the helo. It actually hooked on that, and everybody climbed out the helo, and they went back in the port with it hanging off the side of the ship vertically, and then had cranes remove it from the side of the ship. So that was a crazy
1986.
crash. You ever saw the video? That's a wild crash.
1986, Hodges.
Yeah, I just sent you a picture of the helicopter hanging off the side of the ship.
Yeah, I seen those pictures. I couldn't remember what it was though. I knew it was sometime in the '80s. I just didn't know when because I've seen those pictures too though.
It was a CH-46 from Helicopter Combat Support Squadron 11.
Yep, C9.
oh, I found it. The actual story of the fight.
Okay, good.
Read it, bro. Read it.
Hold on, I'll get it up and share it really quick. And it's a lot of what we're talking about too. So,
Really?
all right. So right here, Everett, DD991. Fife has seen the death of a crew member, a former captain, and a civilian contractor on board. On her decks and her corridors, crew members have seen and heard things. They spelled seen wrong. They could not explain. Main engine room number 1, which is where I was on watch, has been reported several times to be occupied by the ghost of a dead civilian worker. Engineers have heard duct tape. That was Roan's story. He said he heard this fucking like duct tape ripping out next to him. Footsteps on deck plates. Voices at midship's quarterdeck is where the young sailor Thumper you were talking about committed suicide. And then many crew members, like you were saying, Rocky, seen the ghost on dark underway nights. Now, it might not have been underway, but that was in port, with Ox doing stuff. So, it's on there, it's listed that other people have seen it. They just, they haven't came out to say who they were.
Now, Rocky, didn't Mick tell a story about when he was up at Smoke Break one time?
Yeah, I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I want him to tell that story because there were multiple witnesses to that story apparently, which I find intriguing.
I mean, I never witnessed anything like that. I mean, I'm kind of like a naysayer because I've never witnessed it, but I'm not going to say it does not happen.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm the same way.
Because I think
'Cause I
only
spent-
certain people get to see behind the veil in the spirit world. That's what I believe.
Because I spent a lot of time in Main One, starting off, first on the ship, and then when I moved to the oil lab, I was in everybody's spaces, and I was there a lot of times when everybody else was gone. So I didn't hear shit. I mean, you hear creaks and stuff like that, but nothing. I never had any like anybody screaming or duct tape or anything. That'd be a little weird.
Roan, he was always a little nutty. He was, but
Yeah,
He
the
seemed a
duct
little
tape noise
paranoid.
probably brought back some PTSD or something. Duct tape noises.
So as engineers, have you guys ever pranked a new guy who comes on board and he's there like first time he's ever going to stand as UI watch or whatever, and he's a rover, and say whatever you do, don't go into space just to pump the guy, just don't go in there, that kind of thing, like something like that. Like remember the BT punch and the going down to get some blinker fluid out of the supply department and stuff like that. So
one time, this is when the females got on board. Urena was fucking EL on their way. And we got one of them to go, I think it might have been Diaz. I don't remember for sure. Whether it's Diaz or McKeever, right? Go up to him and request permission to hold EL's balls, right? and next thing I know, I'm getting called to fucking Central. Don't ever fucking do that again. I was like, fuck.
I've never heard that one.
We had that topsider come down and request to blow the EO.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see, who was it? It was an engineer. They had him. I think it was your shop, Rocky, that had him dress up in a fucking poopy suit and carry a bucket with the fucking green water.
Yeah, they did that
chill water.
They did that to Kelly.
Yeah, and said it was fucking like dangerous and not to get it on you. And then fucking somebody come running down the P-way and hit him and spilled it everywhere, and he was screaming.
I should have not asked you guys.
It might have been
crazy.
It might have been Kelly. I know they did that to Kelly, and I think they did it to maybe Mickelson. I'm not sure.
It might have been Mickelson. I think it was Mickelson. But we had the Screaming Alphas, the Pink Bellies. We've had I forget who the fuck it was that was sent from engineering up to the bridge, and the CO actually called down to Central CCS and was like, guys, you got to stop now, because we sent somebody up there to request permit. We had to crank the mast down to get under the bridge in San Diego. And the skipper actually signed the paper and sent him back down, and then called and was like, hey, okay, that's enough now.
I remember
there was.
I think you guys asked me to get the keys to the sea chest.
Yeah.
I think.
Or a bucket of steam.
Yeah,
So I got to,
like those two.
like first time we was lighting off, they said, go get a bucket of steam. And I looked up, I said, motherfucker, you can't get steam in a bucket. God damn it.
The sea chest one got me because I'm like, yeah, there's sea chest, but what the fuck?
That one did get me too. The sea chest one did, because I think that gets everybody, because you don't know when you first get on board, right? Because like when me and Lil Tate and Rocky got on board, we was just undesignated firemen, so we had no fucking idea on that.
That's what I was.
The steam one, I knew about steam, because you can't put steam in a bucket. Come on now.
Yeah, but the key is like sea chest. You're like chest. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Exactly.
I didn't get pranked when I first got on board. It was like 10 o'clock at night, because I had flown into Seattle. I got in the duty van. They drove me down to the ship. The very first thing that was beside getting across the brow, they sent somebody up to get me, the sounding security, to take me down to CCS. And it was my LPO that was standing watch in there. And the first thing he ever said to me was, I forget how he fucking worded it, but he was like, hey, shipmate, there's a rope down there. Go into the fucking escape hatch and hang yourself. And then that was it. So, like, that was the first thing that was ever told to me when I got on the ship, because Bittner He told me to just pretty much go hang myself in the escape trunk of Main One. That was the first, and I didn't know where I was supposed to sleep. I had my bags in my hands still. Like, I'm like, great. What did I get myself into? But after that, it was like, yeah, he fucked with me. He was like having me do all kinds of shit and would never leave me alone. You'd hear my name yelled. You'd hear my name yelled from one end of the ship to the other.
I remember your first pink belly because I got around the metal dustpan.
Yeah, you did, fucker. And somebody sprayed WD-40 on me.
I couldn't find the plastic one, so I grabbed the metal and it hit you with it. Then it fucking splits you. I was like, oh, fuck. Like,
oh, yeah, I was bleeding like a motherfucker.
But I'll give you this, though. You never ran this out for that.
Fuck no. No.
Some of those traditions are good that they're gone, but not all of them. But you guys might not know the BT punch one, but Halsey was all about 1,200 pound steam, so we had a shitload of BTs. They were probably the nastiest Marines, nastiest engineer guys ever, boiler techs, and very rare breed. Well, that got done wrong and turned into machines.
If you remember, almost every GSM on the 5 in Japan was a former BT.
Yeah. So you could get
all down from Chief, Chief Turbo, GSM. I think GSM 1 Johnson was, GSM 2 Stafford, even Boswell, bitch.
Yeah. So they sent some dumb twidget down to go borrow the BT punch from Main One, and immediately, all right, get out of here. And you don't even know what happened. You're like, why did I just get punched and leave the space? So come back and go, the guy just punched me and didn't give me the thing. So go back down and ask him again. Go back down. And you catch on pretty quick, hopefully.
Yeah, the topsiders, they sent down that person to blow the E out because we always called up to blow the boilers. When we'd always have to let them know we were getting ready to blow the boilers at night. And then they would say, like, it just made sense. So they came down and asked permission to blow the E out. And I think it was Eureka who was standing watch. And
well, he got hit twice, once for that and once with the engineering girls request to hold the EOW's balls.
Yeah, Eureka unzipped for the blowing the EOW one. He unzipped and pulled out. So,
but when the girls first came on board, right? He's like, you can't be doing this. I'm like, come on, you guys did shit like this to us all the time. Like, Rock, you remember this? GSM 1 Johnson? You want to see my baby bald eagle?
Yeah, that motherfucker.
And he'd be on the pack. He'd like, here it is. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was so like, what the fuck is he doing?
He wasn't right, but he was a good LPL.
Hey guys, I'm getting a look from the dog. I gotta walk. I got 2 of them, but one of them I gotta walk like right now. So I don't know if you guys are still gonna be here when I get back, but I'll try to get back. I gotta walk this dog.
Okay, bye, Joe.
Yeah.
All right.
I should probably get going too. I gotta go run some wiring.
Okay. Hey, I want to read this story about the giant Kunar. This is in Afghanistan.
I'll wait for this then.
This is pretty fucking interesting, man. It is. It's interesting. Let me go to share. And then if we want to, we can end after this and we'll call this the ghost stories.
Hell no, we're going to keep going. We got a full another 35 minutes or 25 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, let me go. Let me see. Okay. Man, I can't see it right now. Hold on. Sorry. Let me just make it bigger.
I'm excited to tell some more stories about cryptids. Let's go.
Okay, it says I was deployed. Here's the thing. It says I was deployed as an infantry team leader with the army in Kunar province, Afghanistan from 2008 to 2009. One night we set in on an observation patrol to overlook a village that we suspected IEDs were coming out of due to its successful IED recovery a few weeks prior. My lieutenant gave me a new thermal imaging system called the Recon 3 that none of us were familiar with and told me to figure it out what I can and pass along the information to the other team leaders. I started messing with the Recon 3 to see its capabilities and was surprised at the clarity of the images and the clarity of the zoom on it. I spent most of the time messing with the different functionalities and watching the village. I started to look across the valley to see what I could see, and that led me to look along the spur we were set in on and saw a very large heat signature at the top of one of the false peaks. I did everything I could to get closer, get a clear image as I could, suspecting that it was a group of Taliban huddled together around light as they tend to do in the mountains when all of a sudden the heat signature stood up as one being. The trees in that area grew up to about 10 to 12 feet tall, and this thing was at least as tall, if not more elevated, than the trees that surrounded it. It started taking steps parallel to my position and was covering ground quickly with ease. Its stride was slow and relaxed, yet it moved with incredible speed that led me to believe that this creature was gigantic. It very quickly traversed the landscape. I lost sight of it along a neighboring spur. I did not believe what I saw initially, assuming that I had imagined as it I've been never seen anything like that before in my life. I didn't tell many of the people about it well while deployed or even in the army. I kept it to myself, thinking that I couldn't have seen what I saw. But then in 2010, after I got out of the army, I was listening to Coast radio and heard the story of a C-130 pilot talking about a familiar creature. The memory came flooding back to me, and it also made me consider the other things that I saw in my time in service. The C-130 pilot had discussed the creature in detail, said that it had fire orange hair, and it reminded me of a tradition the locals would do but would not speak of where they would dye their hair orange and dye the hair of their goats orange. So this is a tradition, the red hair, right? It seemed like it was very once in a while that they would do this, and then all of a sudden, all the orange goats would be gone, and the orange out of their hair would be gone as well. I didn't put two and two together, assuming that it was a weird cultural thing, and I did not understand, but now it makes me wonder that if that was some gesture to creature slash Nephilim or goats that were sacrificed to it. I'm a Christian, and the Bible briefly discusses Nephilim, aka the men of renown. I think that is what I saw. I think it's an ancient race of giant that are descendants of fallen angels, or it could just be a Sasquatch-like creature. I am not sure. Of course, I only saw it on thermals, but didn't appear hairy like what you would expect a Sasquatch to look like. It seemed to be a very huge naked man. There's pictures of goats with orange hair. So there you go, fellas. There's a crazy story about giants. But anyways,
yeah, I never ran into anything like that in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's a shame you didn't, but then you might be thankful because who knows?
Right?
You're faced with that kind of stuff, you would be like, "What the hell is this?"
And I probably would have opened fire.
Well, and there's stories out there that special forces unit did come contact. Some of them died. They was told cover it up, say it was enemy fire or whatever, right? Because supposedly there's a special unit that goes hunts these motherfuckers right there.
Yeah, and there was one where the guy's telling a story that they tied one down and they flew it back out of the same area, that same region. I remember hearing about that story too.
Right, Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah.
I think it might have been on Coast to Coast, so I heard it up, or the Y-Files. It was one of the two. I heard it at.
Kunar's over there by Pakistan.
Yeah, they say that place is like the freaking Wild West. Like
it is.
Like they have stories of gnomes that eat people. There's vampires out there like, blah, I'm going to suck your blood. Not like that, but something fucking way more terrifying.
It's a dead area too. It's so compared to other parts of Afghanistan, it's not very populated. It's very sparse, and you have your tribes all over in the mountains in there, but there's not a lot of people, so it's pretty desolate. You can go a long ways and do some missions without even seeing anybody. If you stay in the mountains, you can literally go days without seeing anything.
Isn't there a lot of cave systems out there too?
Yeah, there's a ton of caves. Yeah, and actually the passes and stuff, the caves and passes are what they use to go back and forth between Pakistan and Afghanistan there. for the Arab Spring.
Gotcha.
It's a hot point when the passes thaw, because that's when a lot of the fighters will traverse back into Afghanistan and the attacks ramped up. You know, you get your core fighters that stay in Afghanistan, and then you got the ones that travel back home to Pakistan or back to Pakistan to train more, and then they come back in once it thaws out again. And so that whole area is, there's cave systems, there's mountain trails and passes, and I mean it's rough terrain. And I've seen Afghans with red, orange beards and orange hair and orange eyebrows and stuff like that. And you know, some of them, it looks like they were born that way. Others, you can tell they dyed it. But
I got a feeling that a lot of those cave systems over there has not been explored yet, like a lot of here stateside has not been explored.
Oh no.
So the people that you see with orange hair, they might have dyed it, but it could be the offspring of the Nephilim too.
And
yeah,
that delves into a realm that delves into the realm of like, it's interconnected with everything else we've talked about with conspiracy shit. It really does.
Yeah.
It's almost the centerpiece of it all. Like the books that I showed you guys earlier, the Genesis 6 conspiracy, part 1 and 2. Man, it's crazy. But it's interesting that these stories are coming out. And I appreciate the guys in the military that are saying it, because, you know, otherwise you're going to get ridiculed. I mean, I'm listening to Coast and Coast right now on YouTube. I'm listening to Art Bell, and I'm listening to a 10-hour video on him just talking with guys about aliens and shit like that. But it's interesting, and this is all from like 2005, 2006. And the stuff they're talking about back then, it's like prime time what's going on right now. It's amazing. It's like 20 years ago, and it's still very relevant.
Yeah, you push that back to folklore. You know, there's always like a seed of truth in folklore, and you're starting to see where that folklore is tying together. Like you're showing the maps and everything else. You know, these things are being seen now. You know, are they coming out like that anglerfish you were talking about earlier, Thumper? Like, are they wanting to be seen? I mean, we know COVID, when everybody stopped going outside, how quick nature came back in the cities, and they didn't really leave that much. They, you know, they're in there, and it's the reason why we live in cities. You know, in population densities are in cities, the same way it was back then. Everybody kind of congregates to a city. The guys that live on the outskirts are the ones that are seeing this stuff, because there's not a lot of people around.
Here's an interesting book right here, guys. You can see it.
Yeah, partially.
True Legend.
Yep.
I got to read this little excerpt. They have the Book of Enoch in this. This is what it says happened to the women that had sex with the angels. It's Enoch chapter 19. It says, "And Uriel said to me, here will stand the angelic beings who have coupled with women, their spirits assuming many different shapes are defiling humankind, and will lead them astray into sacrificing the demons as Elohim, or gods," right? "Here they stay until the day of judgment." That must be the bottomless fucking pit. "They will endure judgment until they are terminated. The women of the angelic beings who went astray will become jackals." And in the footnotes, it says jackals, carcass eaters. Some translators have translated to the word sirens. Women like bird combinations that eat carcasses, as do vultures. Now, in the book of Zechariah or Zephaniah, there's also something that looks like that. But it's crazy. It says that these women didn't die normal deaths. They became mermaids, or these weird creatures that are standing by to be judged by the Most High God. It's crazy. And it's right here in the books. And if no one reads it, they're not going to know. It's a crazy little excerpt. But this book is pretty intense, man. It's a good book. And that's by Steve Quayle. And he's like the first guy back in, I think, 2002 that broke the story of the Kandahar Giant, which we were talking about, where the helicopter took the dead body to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base from Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan or whatever it is. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. But anyways, That's all I got.
But
All
hit
right,
on
guys.
like
I'm gonna
Little
bounce. I
Tate.
will talk to you guys later.
All right,
All right.
Thumper, are you out then?
Yep.
Peace out.
Later.
But to hit on what Lil Tate was talking about, and over squids or animals coming back to the beaches after COVID, right?
Yep.
This is a picture of a giant squid, even though it's only 13 foot, right? But we all know they get bigger than that. And that's just in 2022 in New Zealand. And that same beach has had 4 sightings left from 2020 to 2024 of ones bigger than that, coming up on the beach.
Yeah, and Joe pointed out something really good with the whale stuff with the carrier. The only natural predator of whales is fucking squid.
Yep.
Because we know how big fucking whales are, and that is, you know what I mean? Like that's a natural, thing. And whales tend to give off a certain frequency. And I wouldn't be surprised if squid hears something out of the ship that mimics a whale.
Just like sonar, all that.
Yeah, when it's pinging, there might be just a certain acoustic sound frequency that entices it, and it's like after it.
Well, do you guys hear the story about the bloop?
Oh yeah. I
Like
think I got that.
we need to look at that story and read it, and then like just kind of like dissect it. That's an
You want to see
interesting.
you want to see what a bloop looks like? I'll show you. I got it pulled up here.
Something stupid.
It's an ugly motherfucker. Look at that son bitch right there. It kind of looks like a little human face in a way, right?
Hey, what are you doing in that picture? How did you get underwater for that? I'm just playing.
I was waiting for that one though. But
Did you ever see that picture they have of like what Beyonce sees when she wakes up every night, and it's like this fish with these fucked up teeth that looks like Jay-Z?
I've seen that one. Yep, I've seen that one.
I hadn't seen that one.
That's funny as shit, dude.
That was going around Facebook for quite a few years.
Yeah. It shows up every once in a while. It's pretty freaking funny.
But we don't know what's in the ocean. We really don't.
No,
I get was it less than 1% of the ocean's actually been explored and mapped.
Yeah, when we were going over earlier, when I was giving you the stats, you added something like this, like the goblin shark.
Yeah.
Where the fuck did that come from when we were talking about sharks?
Yeah, see, I missed that one because my Virgo's been going off. I'm like, I had to go lay down for a little bit.
What, right now?
No, it's good now, but it was earlier when I got up and left all the time
Oh, okay.
because I had ear popping real bad. That sets off vertigo and all that shit. So,
And this is a great segment too, because there's so many stories. We've only told the surface, and each of us, at least for me, I've ran into a few things with local myths back home.
Yep.
So this is definitely something that I know can be talked about forever. You add in what Rocky has.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about the crazy shit I saw in Japan, the weird stuff I saw in Gitmo. Seal Beach wasn't a very cool place at nighttime. There was one place, man, it was really creepy.
Yeah.
You would hear you ever hear how the screeching of the ring wraiths?
yeah.
There was something out in Seal Beach one day around 2002. I heard something screech like that. It was dark outside, and I was at my barracks, right? Because I was just a second class at the time. I went inside real quick because I didn't have a gun or anything on me. I wasn't on duty, but it was creepy, dude. That thing, I was like, man, this thing.
Here's I don't know what this is, right? But this was found in Scotland, right here. Whatever the fuck that thing is. Some kind of fish, but damn. Ugly as hell.
Yeah, that goes back to what that report, like there's 2.3 million species that haven't been identified in the sea. And like Joe was saying earlier with those thermal vents, with their own, biosystem, ecosystem. You get land cryptids the same way. There's ecosystems, everywhere. There's that giant cave in China where, it's that huge hole and you go in there and it's its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
was, I was watching a thing on that the other day about that.
hmm
You know,
That thing is super interesting when you start digging into it because there's like trees and vegetation down there and all kinds of shit. So to say that even the forest areas like we were talking about earlier, they have their own ecosystems too.
Yep.
And you're telling me that creatures can't live there, unknown? Come on, man. You should stop being so narrow sighted. And that was something I wanted to kind of close out on, from the Y files. There's a clip I was watching the other day, did a compilation of weird places. And I kind of want to play this and let you guys listen to this and see what you think. Because it's not just about cryptids, but it's about humans themselves. And the thinking that people should always keep an open mind. You know what I mean? Like we're telling stories that we've had, and there's probably many others out there that have had the same experiences. And hold on, let me share this really quick. And I want everybody to kind of listen really quick. It's about a minute long.
Okay.
Others say is a crazy theory. Our civilization's greatest leaps forward come from heretics who dare to challenge the status quo. From mavericks and dissenters have come scientific discoveries that altered the course of history and forced even the most ardent skeptics to wonder, what if? What if there was an ancient civilization that sunk beneath the ocean? And what if the children of those people are here now, just waiting for our own civilization to catch up, waiting for us to emerge from our selfish adolescence so we can join a larger community, one that exists only for scientific discovery, artistic expression, and spiritual enlightenment. Now, I admit it sounds like fantasy, but when we stop asking, what if, civilization dies. But as long as there are heretics and mavericks and dissenters, we have a chance. And if you're one of those, keep asking, what if? Everyone on Earth, whether they know it or not, is counting on you.
So that goes back to the theory. What if? Why do we stop questioning it? Because the scientist says it. They haven't found bones of Sasquatch in the forest.
Well, it would lead to other implications that their theory of evolution is wrong, or that because their theory of evolution is wrong, the only other alternative is something they don't want to admit to as being the only alternative that actually makes any damn sense. And you would have to look into the ancient books that talk about ancient cryptids and stuff like that, So, I mean, that's about that. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. We got to talk about this stuff again.
How many volumes do we want to do?
I don't know.
Well, you do a lot too.
Yeah.
And that's why I love like the Y files. I mean, yeah, some of that stuff has been proven to be false, right? But a lot of it has not been proven to be false yet.
Yeah. One of the biggest ones I think he's done is the stories or his own stories that made him believe not so much in cryptids, but otherworldly beings like the shadow people and things like that have been seen throughout history. Everybody's got a history of like shadow people. We don't know if they're interdimensional beings or like Sasquatch runs into that same thing too.
Dude, I got a crazy story about that.
Go ahead.
My son, he had to get a sleep test done, and I went with him, right? Because he was 17, and he wasn't allowed to do it. And I also told him like I'd seen this thing too. I'll be sitting in my house at my little bar, right? I have like a little bar counter where the sink is and everything, and the garage is right there out of my left eye. And I'll see shadows run and walk by, and so would Nate, my son. And I'd be like, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "No." But then he invented to me later when we were talking to the doctor about the sleep test thing. Hey, I told the doctor, I was like, "Hey, I'm seeing this stuff." She's like, "You can actually get that from a lack of sleep. Like you will see that shit." So I don't know, because it's like I'm not really tired like I used to be, but I'll see a shadow being walk right by me, and I'm like, this thing ain't welcome in my house.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. You know, are there different dimensions? Is there a parallel universe? Who fucking knows?
That's a long conversation right
Yeah,
there.
we'll talk about that another day.
Even
But I
from
think
a scientific point of view,
yeah.
I mean, legit like science in there, makes this world like super weird. And it's like, if you're only taking it at face value and only what you can see, then you've really closed off your mind to what's really out there. And that's the question. What if Nikola Tesla didn't, do any of that research he did? That goes, along it. He made a quote that said, basically, when he was dying, that he wished he could give his mom a glass of water because he tried to help humanity. And all that happened was he was humiliated and ridiculed. And he brought everything to us because he had that what if. They smeared him like Thomas Edison about DC current and then AC current. Where the fuck would we do out AC current right now? Sure fuck wouldn't be doing this.
It's all about the money. And that's where, like a lot of people today, there's a lot of scientists that are bought and paid for. There really are. And there's some, the ones that get ridiculed to this day, are the ones that ain't doing it for the money. They're doing it for the true science to find the answers. I'll believe the ones that get ridiculed over the ones that are bought and paid for any day of the week.
Yeah. 100%. And like I said, there's hours of us, talking about cryptids and stories, and goes back in text and folklore and Greek mythology and the Bible too. Everybody wants to play these things off, but man, I can't. Like I said, that there's got to be a seed in folklore. Somebody seen something they didn't understand, and they wrote about it, and it was passed down. Obviously, tribal stories, back and forth. It may have shifted a little bit. There's still that core kernel in there.
One of these days, I'm going to read to you what it says in Jasher about that. It's going to like, what the hell? Because Jasher is really a history book. I don't think it's really inspired by God or anything, but it's a good history book and it gives you a lot of good context. But on another note, I think we gotta go, guys, because I gotta take care of some family things. Right
I gotta get ready and start dinner. This is the late night dinner.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me find my little my thing.
You got to do the spiel first.
Yes, I know. I gotta do the thing first, and I gotta find it. Where'd I put it? I just had it.
You got to make sure you like, subscribe, comment on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble.
I'll be right back, guys.
You can find us there. I think, Gilly, we're all still got the same name for everything, the Pfeiffer's DD991.
Yeah, but the only one on Facebook is the Pod Says Podcast.
Okay, podcast for Instagram or Facebook. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for Facebook, because the rest of us the Pfeiffer's DD991.
Yeah.
Rumble, X, YouTube, and actually on our Facebook page, I got the link to YouTube on there too.
Okay, good. Yeah, right. We want to hear everybody's stories. If anybody out there that's watching, Navy, branch of service, anybody that's watching, if you got a story, put it up there. We'll read it out. Whatever anybody's seen that's weird, because the world's amazing. Like, we've been out to sea. This place is just absolutely amazing for these kinds of things.
Oh yeah. And last night, I forgot the Fife had a alumni page on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I remember last night, and I said, hey, if you would like to come on, we would love to have you on. That's where Whitney, James Whitney found, messaged me last night before I went to bed.
Yeah.
He was going to come on tonight, but something came over the work, so he plans on being on Sunday with us.
And you don't have to be like from the fight, like
No, you don't have to be.
Anybody from a veteran. We'll talk ahead of time, and you want to come on, give a story for quick 15 minutes. You don't have to show your face or anything. Just throw your voice in there, and it'd be awesome to see everybody.
Oh
You
yeah.
don't have to be military either. If you're civilian, never spent a day in the military, and we're doing the cryptid thing or
Yeah.
unknown scene things, a story, by all means, man, get out there and tell your story. Because a lot of us believe, the three of us believe in it.
Yep.
And we're giving you evidence right now. So,
Yep.
and watch the Y Files, Coast to Coast AM. Get out there.
Yep.
All right, are we good to go? Did we say like and subscribe on everything?
Like,
Yep.
subscribe, go get it.
All right, let me ding us out real quick.
Close it out, Rocky.
All right. Fifers departing. That's it.